This is an RNZ podcast.
Hello, Emil Donovan here from The Night Show. And on The Night Show, one of our highlights of the week is Fridays, when we get all kinds of cinematic with shortcuts. We recommend you one new movie, which is in cinemas now, one pick of the week from the paid streaming platforms, and also something that you can watch for free. What more could the heart desire? Here is Shortcuts with Night's movie man, Dan Slevin. Dan Slevin's mystery track. Dan, explain yourself.
Well, it's really a test for you, Emil,
actually,
because I wanted to know, first of all, the most impossible question, can you tell me what film that came from? But did you recognise the melody?
Yeah, it's Nothing Else Matters. It's a symphonic instrumental of Metallica's Nothing Else Matters, isn't it?
That's right. That famously nihilistic heavy metal anthem.
Yeah.
Nothing Else Matters by Metallica. And you will find that particular version on the soundtrack of the famously bleak and depressing 2021 film Walt Disney's Jungle Cruise, starring Dwayne Johnson and Emily Blunt. And it just goes to show that the most amazing music is often buried in on the most unlikely soundtracks.
I was going to say The English Patient, but there you go.
Close. The only reason that exists is because the president of Walt Disney Pictures, a guy called Sean Bailey, thought it was time that Metallica worked on a Walt Disney film.
Wow. Gee, sliding doors moments, eh? And it's kind of, it does, maybe less so now, but it is quite interesting, I think, to maybe reflect, and perhaps we should talk about this sometime, about on how so many stylistic sensibilities and great films and scores and moments in our collective sort of cultural memory happen because of a person making decisions and their own sort of personal idiosyncrasies.
Yeah, no logic whatsoever. On one hand, you've got those executives who are famously concerned about focus groups and research and what do they call it? 4 quadrants. And that's, you'd imagine that would be a very Disney sort of point of view, making sure that a particular title, a particular film, and something like Jungle Cruise, which was inspired by a ride at Disneyland and was intended to basically keep the IP alive for it. But then somebody basically one morning decides that maybe they're listening to Metallica in the car on the way to work, and they go, you know what, I've got the power to do this.
Yeah.
So I will.
And I guess, just as you did, I have the power to play a song on my Friday night slot on nights. And so, you know what? I'm going to play an orchestral Metallica cover. But it does actually get back to a thing that we return to quite a bit in our chats, Dan, which is the idea of the homogenization of taste versus embracing taste makers who have a similar taste to you. And the idea that, taste makers and individual critics who you resonate with, it's not necessarily a kind of elitism or classism. If anything, it's something maybe that certainly that you and I feel that the world of entertainment kind of misses today, because the opinions of everybody sanitized down into the single percentage number on Rotten Tomatoes aren't really telling anybody about themselves individually.
No, and I think it's fair to say that my job is, I am something of an endangered species now, in terms of the idea that a critic could be, a regular voice that you could trust, and part of that trust is also knowing when you don't agree with somebody. It's like, well, I know the kind of stuff that he likes, and he always hates these things that I love, so I'll probably, he's reliable, and I think that there's something about. I was reading a couple of weeks ago about the film Wuthering Heights, which lots and lots of people have seen and lots of people have opinions about now, but how the producers of that film paid 2,000 online influencers on social media to talk about it and to talk about things that they wanted them to talk about: the fashion, the music, the original novel, or what have you, or just be enthusiastic about it. And my sense is that roles such as mine become even more important when we're coming up against that kind of force. 2,000 influencers has a massive impact on millions and millions of social media viewers, and I think it becomes even more important that you have the voice of somebody independent, the voice of somebody who has no axe to grind and certainly doesn't have any financial skin in the game, to be able to say, well, this is a thing now, and here's maybe a way that you can look at it that isn't being dictated to you by the studio itself.
Well, let's talk a bit about some movies. 8:45 is the time. We're talking to Dan Slevin, our movie man here on Nights. You've been to the cinema, Dan. You've been to see a film called, forgive my pronunciation, Sirāt. Tell me a bit about it.
Okay, Sirāt this is one of those films that's been around for quite a few weeks. It's been getting sneak previews, we used to call them in the movie business, and it's been getting lots of advanced screenings. It also played in the New Zealand International Film Festival last year on the back of winning one of the big prizes at Cannes back in May. And so it's sort of been there or thereabouts for quite a long time, but this is the weekend that it actually opens in cinemas. And well, this is one of those pictures where you go, well, this is the difference between a movie and a film, if you know what I mean. This is cinema with a capital C, and it's very, very intense, possibly too intense for some audience members. It got very close to being too intense for me. I sort of felt by the final third that I was kind of trapped in the cinema with it, if you know what I mean. But it's ferocious and interesting and beautifully, beautifully made. It is set in the present day, and it's set in Morocco. And when the film starts, we are following a father with his son walking around a rave in the desert, handing out flyers with pictures of his daughter on. He's trying to find his missing daughter, and this was the last place that she was seen. And he's unsuccessful, but he's told by some of the ravers that there's going to be an even bigger rave further out in the desert, and that he may find her there. And so he joins up with this sort of band of outlaws, carnies, people who on the fringes of society, and follows them in his station wagon, and basically things go from bad to worse to even worse, if you know what I mean. And it's a heavy piece of work. I mean, it starts out heavy just in terms of the music, like it's in a cinema environment, everything pounds to the sound of the bass of the raves, but then it becomes heavy emotionally, and I found it it pushed my limits of what I was really prepared to be comfortable with.
All right, that's Sirāt. That is in cinemas at the moment. That does sound quite intense. I was kind of getting, I don't know, the way that you described it there, it felt kind of like Wolf Creek meets Taken. But obviously very different to both of those. Yeah, relatively. That's right. I
mean, it's fair enough. It's fair enough. It's not a horror film as such, but terrible things do ensue. And what we find is that these band of outlaws, on the fringes of society, you can understand why they're trying to escape from mainstream society. I think it's no accident that a couple of the characters which he's travelling with have missing limbs, like one of them's got a prosthetic leg, one of them's got a missing arm. They're all heavily tattooed, and you can sort of sense that these people don't belong in what we might consider to be comfortable society, normal society. But we also know from occasional radio reports that are very quickly turned off that something is happening in the outside world which is not good, and there are important reasons why they might want to escape that as well. And I must confess to you, Emil, that I've always felt that if I feel like I understand the subtext of a particular film, then I just assume that it's kind of too obvious. Like, I'm not the brightest out there, but I felt like it was a little bit too on the nose, if you know what I mean, in terms of its themes.
Right.
But incredibly well made, incredibly shocking cinematic moments, and it is absolutely beautiful. One of the reasons why I love cinema, Emil, is because it introduces me to cultures and to worlds and perspectives that are fascinating and new and diverse and interesting, but I would never actually want to go there. And so this is very much in that field. I now feel like I know quite a bit about this particular culture, and I've managed to learn it without ever having to get involved.
Dan, I've just before we move on, I've got a text in from JB, from Joan, saying, "What's a rave?"
Oh, that's a good question. I barely understood this before the film started. It is an outdoor dance party where the bass from the speakers is so full on that people aren't really dancing to the music. They're dancing to the impact that the music is having on their bodies, if you know what I mean. And they are epic, and they go on for hours and hours in day and night, and it's more than just a dance party. It's something that is I think really deeply profound for people.
I like a rave, Dan, and yes, I agree with you, deep and profound and quite sort of spiritual. All right. That is in cinemas at the moment. Sirāt is the name of that film. Now, your paid streaming recommendation this week, this is The Night Manager, the second season of a John le Carré adaptation featuring the fabulous Tom Hiddleston.
Yeah, so this one is, it's been 10 years between season 1 and season 2. Season 1 of The Night Manager was a pretty straight adaptation of a John le Carré novel, and on that basis was very well received. It was extremely well made. Tom Hiddleston wasn't a big star at the time that it came out. Hugh Laurie also it was kind of unusual to see him playing a villain, which he was very much so in their first season. Since in the intervening years, of course, John le Carré has passed away. He left no instructions about. I mean, he was famously not really into sequels, apart from the Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy series. But yeah, he left no notes, and so his two sons, who are the executors of his estate, have allowed the filmmakers to imagine a future for those characters. And so Tom Hiddleston as the hero comes back, and he after the 10 years he has recovered a little bit from his experiences hunting Richard Dickie Roper, the famous arms dealer who he managed to bring down, and he's living the quiet life as a night operative for MI6, and on his screens one night he sees a face from the past, and it sort of drags him back into being a real life secret agent. There's something quite nice about Tom Hiddleston. I mean, he's a lovely actor, but you get the feeling that he knows that the role of Bond has sailed for him now, and he needs to find another. And of course, Loki is only ever going to be a guest appearance for the Marvel Cinematic Universe, so he needs another franchise, if you like. And this is his attempt, I think, at being a Bond kind of secret agent, globe-trotting. This second season takes place mostly in Colombia, which is fantastic. I've never seen very much of Colombia, and it looks amazing. And I don't think it's giving too much away to say that Dickie Roper, played by Hugh Laurie, who we thought died at the end of the first season returns in this one. In fact, we've got a clip that proves it.
I came here to offer you the world. It's at your feet. Just bend down and pick it up. You can't offer me the world. You're just a con man. Even when you're stretched out stone cold dead on a slab of Syrian concrete, you're lying. Why should I believe a word you say?
Because you dream of me every night, just as I dream of you.
Yesterday, a good man was murdered in a Medellin wasteland with a bullet in his skull, and I failed to stop it. I won't fail again.
Conscience and shame, the shackles of slaves.
Conscience is what makes us human.
Did your father teach you that?
Yes, he did.
Is that what led him to a pointless death on a street in Belfast, blown to bits by his selfless commitment to service? That's it. That's it. There. That's the hot blood of truth. Go on, Jonathan. Do it. Stick it right through my heart. But before you do that, know this. Your father's values are dying. Mine are in the ascendant.
My father loved me. What about yours?
And that's a clip from The Night Manager, streaming now on Prime Video. I really like Tom Hiddleston. I think that he has, he's quite a slight fellow, Dan, and I say this as a slight fellow myself, but he has a kind of wiry strength and intensity to him, like an SAS soldier, you know?
You get the impression, and certainly as the character he plays in this show, that he can take a bit of a beating, and that's really the key to being an action hero, isn't it? Is how much pain you can take on. I wasn't sure about the second season beforehand because without le Carré, I wasn't sure that it was going to be able to, if you'll forgive me, le Carré the weight of the story, with new creatives, but and we watched the first few episodes at Christmas time, and we finished it this weekend. And I didn't want to talk about it with you until I'd seen all the episodes and knew that it could, if you'll forgive me again, carry the story across the finish line, and it does. There is a third season already in production, I think, and it does end on something of a cliffhanger, which can be incredibly frustrating for people, I know, but it is very, very well made, and I think it certainly hews to a lot of le Carré's themes, if you know what I mean, about fathers and sons and con men and the idea that intelligence agents are really just glorified con men, really. And I think that it does a good job of, I think, reinforcing what we know and love about le Carré.
Dan, you're gonna make me get a hot desk one of these days so that I can put on a ba-dum-dum sound effect for your webplay. 3 minutes at the end for your free streaming option this week. It's on TVNZ Plus. It's a great shout. It's from the pen, the typewriter of the indefatigable Aaron Sorkin, who's a bit insufferable in real life, but boy can he write, and it's A Few Good Men.
Yeah, this one got 4 Academy Award nominations in 1993. Rob Reiner, of course, produced and directed it, the late Rob Reiner. And it is, I think, the film where everyone started to pay attention to Aaron Sorkin. It's an adaptation of his Broadway play of the same name, which was phenomenally successful and played for many, many years. And it just has this outstanding cast. Kevin Bacon, Kevin Pollak, Cuba Gooding Jr., Kiefer Sutherland, and, of course, Tom Cruise when he was still acting for a living. And, of course, famously Jack Nicholson as well. And we haven't got a clip, the famous clip, because we've all heard that over and over again. But we do have another clip featuring Jack Nicholson. I do miss Jack.
Here to help in any way I can.
Thank you.
You believe that, don't you, Danny? That I'm here to help you in any way I can?
Of course.
Corporal will take you by personnel on your way out to the flight line, and you can have all the transfer orders that you want. But you have to ask me nicely.
I beg your pardon?
You have to ask me nicely. You see, Danny, I can deal with the bullets and the bombs and the blood. I don't want money, and I don't want medals. What I do want is for you to stand there in that figgity white uniform and with your Harvard mouth extend me some f***ing courtesy. You gotta ask me nicely.
Colonel Jessup, if it's not too much trouble, I'd like a copy of the transfer order. Sir.
No problem.
I mean, I understand why you didn't want to play the famous courtroom clip. But I guess, all of the scenes featuring those two in that film are just dynamite, aren't they? Because Jack Nicholson, of course, a legend. Tom Cruise can act when he puts his mind to it, when he wants to.
Absolutely. And interestingly, I was doing a bit of research on the original Broadway play, and Colonel Jessup was played by Stephen Lang on Broadway. And Stephen Lang, now famous as the villain of the Avatar films, and a very, very strong actor in his own right. And but what I do want to mention, a bit of a shout out to, I think, the unsung hero of A Few Good Men is not a good man. It's Demi Moore as Joanne Galloway, who I think anchors the film in so many ways, and is kind of against the fireworks of Nicholson. Doesn't get the attention that she deserves. A fantastic performance.
Dan Slevin, thanks very much. We'll catch you next week.
My pleasure.
It's our movie man Dan Slevin.